The night was quiet in Umuzi village. The moon hung low and the crickets filled the air with their songs. In a small mud house by the edge of the road lived Adaeze, a widow. She was known as Ada the Silent because she hardly spoke unless spoken to. Her husband had died years ago, and since then, loneliness became her closest companion. Adaeze had no children, and the villagers often whispered behind her back. A barren woman, unlucky and cursed, they said. She heard their words, but she never replied. Every morning she tied her old wrapper, fetched water from the stream, and went to her small farm. That was her life: work, silence, and the empty space beside her at night. But that night, something unusual happened. As she was preparing to sleep, she heard a faint sound outside her window. At first, she thought it was a goat. But then, she listened closely. It was not a goat. It was the cry of a baby. Her heart jumped. She rushed out quickly, bare feet on the cold earth. There, near the roadside, wrapped in a torn piece of cloth, lay a newborn baby. His cries were weak, yet sharp, cutting through the night like a blade. Adaeze looked around. The road was empty, only shadows of trees swaying in the wind. She bent down, lifted the baby into her arms, and pressed him to her chest. His skin was soft, his body trembling with cold. "Who would do this?" she whispered. "Who would leave such a tiny child to die?" Her heart shook, but her heart knew what to do. Without thinking twice, she carried the baby inside. She lit a small oil lamp, spread an old wrapper on her wooden bed, and laid the child down. That night, Adaeze did not sleep. She kept watch over the child, feeding him drops of water mixed with ground rice, praying he would survive until morning. When the cock crowed, the village began to stir. Women came out with their brooms, sweeping the front of their compounds. Children ran to the stream with buckets. Men headed to their farms with hoes on their shoulders. Word spread quickly. Ada the Silent has brought home a baby. By mid-morning, a crowd gathered in front of her hut. Some women stood with hands on their waists. "Where did she get him from?" one asked. "Maybe she stole him," another replied. "Or maybe it is a curse. Who knows?" Adaeze came out holding the baby close to her chest. She looked at them without fear. "This child was thrown away," she said softly. "I found him crying by the road last night. From today, he is my son." The crowd gasped. Some laughed, some shook their heads. "You, a poor widow? How will you feed him?" "Ada, think twice. A child is not yam that you pick and roast. What if the spirits follow him? You will bring more trouble into your life." But Adaeze turned her back and went inside. She did not care what they thought. For the first time in many years, her heart felt full. The baby grew stronger by the day. His cries became louder, his eyes brighter. Adaeze named him Chisum, which means God is with me. Every morning she tied him to her back and went to the farm. Under the hot sun, she dug the earth with one hand while rocking him with the other. At night, she sang him lullabies, her soft voice carrying hope into the dark room. But the villagers did not stop talking. "Chisum has no father," they said. "He has no blood in this village. He will grow to be nothing." The words stung, but Adaeze held on. "Chosen family," she whispered to herself. "Love is stronger than blood." When Chisum was 2 years old, he fell very sick. His body burned with fever, and he could not eat. Adaeze carried him from one house to another, begging for herbs or medicine. Some shut their doors. Others shook their heads.
"He is not your child," one woman said. "Why suffer yourself?" Adaeze wept, but she did not give up. She stayed by his side night after night, placing wet cloth on his forehead, praying for a miracle. "Chisum, you will not die," she whispered. "I did not find you to lose you. You are my son." On the third night, the fever broke. The boy opened his eyes and smiled weakly. Adaeze cried tears of relief, pressing him close to her heart. From that day, she was more determined than ever. She would fight for his life, no matter the cost. When Chisum turned 6, Adaeze wanted to enroll him in the village school, but there was a problem. He had no birth certificate. The headmaster frowned. "Madam, without a certificate, we cannot admit him." Adaze's heart sank. "But he is a child like others," she begged. "Please, give him a chance." The headmaster shook his head. "Rules are rules." Adaeze left the office with tears in her eyes, but she did not stop there. She walked to the council hall, spoke to the elders, and even begged the local registrar. Some mocked her struggle. Some ignored her. But one old man pitied her struggle and gave her a temporary paper. With that, Chisum entered school. He held his slate proudly, his small legs running ahead as Adaeze followed behind. It was the happiest day of her life. As the years passed, Chisum grew into a bright, curious boy. He asked questions about everything, the sky, the river, the stars. Adaeze knew he was destined for more than the village had to offer. But deep in her heart, she feared one thing. One day the world might try to take him away. Still, she whispered to herself at night, "Chosen family, belonging. Love planted in hard soil will grow strong." And she held Chisum closer, knowing that the bond they shared was unbreakable. Chisum was now 10 years old. He was tall for his age, with bright eyes that carried both curiosity and sadness. Every morning he went to school holding a small chalkboard and a slate. He loved learning. He loved writing letters, adding numbers, and reading stories. But school was not always kind to him. Some of the children laughed at him. "You have no father," they shouted. "You were picked from the dustbin. You are not even from this village." The words hurt like stones. Sometimes Chisum ran behind the classroom to cry. Other times he clenched his fists, wanting to fight. But Adaze's voice always echoed in his mind. "My son, never answer hatred with hatred. Let love be your weapon." So he stayed quiet, carrying his pain like a hidden scar. One evening, during the annual New Yam Festival, the whole village gathered in the square. Children danced, drums beat loudly, and masquerades leapt through the air. Chisum stood among the crowd, smiling with excitement. Suddenly, one elder shouted, "Why is that boy here? This feast is for sons of the soil. He is not one of us." The crowd turned to look. Murmurs rose. Some children pushed Chisum aside, laughing cruelly. His smile faded, and his eyes filled with tears. He wanted to run, but his legs froze. Adaeze, who was standing nearby, rushed forward. She placed her hand firmly on his shoulder. "Chisum belongs here," she said loudly. "He is my son. My blood or not, he is mine." The crowd went silent. Some elders frowned, some villagers whispered, but Adaze's voice carried strength that silenced them. That night, when they returned home, Chisom sat quietly on the bed. "Mama, why do they hate me?" he asked. Adaeze held with hand gently. "They do not hate you, my son. They fear what they do not understand. You are light, and light often troubles darkness." Chisom leaned against her and whispered, "Mama, I don't want any other family. You are my family." Her eyes filled with tears, and she hugged him tightly. When Chisom was 12, another storm struck. One rainy night, he developed a terrible cough. His chest rattled and his body shook with fever.
Adaeze wrapped him in blankets, but the cough grew worse. She ran to neighbors, begging for help. Many refused. "Why suffer yourself?" one woman said. "He is not your real child." Adaeze's heart burned with anger. "Love makes him mine," she snapped. She carried him on her back through the rain to a small clinic in the next town. The nurse looked at her old clothes and shook her head. "You have no money. We cannot keep him here." Adaeze knelt on the floor, her voice trembling. "Please save my son. He is all I have. I will pay with my farm work. I will pay with my sweat. Just save him." Something in her voice softened the nurse's heart. They admitted Chisom, and for 2 weeks, Adaeze stayed by his side, washing his body, feeding him weak porridge, and praying. Slowly the fever left. The cough grew lighter until it finally stopped. When they returned to the village, Chisom looked thin but alive. Adaeze whispered to herself, "Sacrifice, resilience, belonging. Nothing will take him from me." Despite rejection, Chisom excelled in school. He loved books more than food. Sometimes when Adaeze had no money, she sold firewood just to buy him exercise books. One evening, he said to her, "Mama, I want to be a teacher. I want to teach children who feel left out like me. I want to show them kindness." Adaeze smiled. "That is a good dream, my son. Knowledge is power. Education is hope. You will use it to change lives." But deep in her heart, she worried. Dreams needed wings, and wings cost money. Still, she chose hope over fear. One dry afternoon when Chisom was about 14, a strange event shook the village. A man arrived in a shiny car, wearing a neat suit and dark glasses. His name was Obina, and he had left the village many years ago. He asked the elders about a child, an abandoned boy. Whispers spread quickly. He is looking for Chisom. That evening, Obina came to Adaeze's house. He looked at Chisom carefully, his eyes soft but troubled. "I am your father," Obina said. The words hit Chisom like thunder. He froze, unable to speak. Adaeze's heart dropped. Obina continued, "I made mistakes in the past. I was young, careless, and ashamed. I left you, but now I want to make it right. Come with me, my son. I will give you a better life, money, school, everything you need." Chisom looked at Adaeze. Her face was calm, but her eyes shone with hidden pain. She did not speak because she did not want to force his choice. That night, Chisom could not sleep. His mind battled between two worlds, wealth or love, blood or belonging. When the house was quiet, Adaeze knelt by the window, looking at the moon. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "God, do not let him go," she whispered. "I have given him all I have, my sacrifice, my strength, my love.
Do not let blood tear him away from me." Chisum came out quietly and saw her crying. His chest tightened. He had never seen her so broken. He walked to her, placed his hand on her shoulder, and said softly, "Mama, do not cry. You are my family. I will not leave you." Her tears turned into a smile. She pulled him close and whispered, "Chosen family. Love is stronger than blood." The next day, Obina returned. He looked at Chisum, expecting an answer. Chisum spoke firmly, "Sir, I thank you, but my place is here, with Mama. She raised me when you left. She fought for me when no one else would. She is my family." The villagers watched silently, surprised by the boy's courage. Obina's face darkened with regret, but he did not argue. Instead, he said quietly, "If you will not come with me, then I will find another way to make peace." With that, he left, leaving behind questions, whispers, and a storm of emotions that would soon change the village forever. The sun was high over Umweze when Obina returned again. This time, he did not come alone. He brought gifts, bags of rice, cartons of milk, bundles of clothes. The villagers gathered quickly, their eyes wide. "Obina has come back rich," they whispered. "Maybe he will build a house here. Maybe he will take his son away from Adaeze." Obina stood tall in the middle of the square. His voice carried power. "People of Umweze, I have returned. I left long ago with shame in my heart. I abandoned my own child. Now I want to make things right. My son Chisum must come with me. I will send him to the city. He will study in the best schools, eat the best food, and wear the best clothes." Gasps of approval filled the air. Some clapped, others nodded. "Yes, let the boy go," one man shouted. "He will be a great man in the city," another added. "Why waste his life here with a poor widow?" Adaeze stood silently at the back of the crowd, holding her wrapper tightly. Her heart beat fast, but she refused to speak. She wanted Chisum to choose for himself. That night, neighbors came to Adaeze's hut. They did not hide their thoughts. "Adaeze, let the boy go. Obina is his real father. You are only a woman. What can you give him? Think of his future. You cannot buy books. You cannot build dreams. Obina can." Their words pierced her like knives, but Adaeze did not argue. She only smiled weakly and said, "A future without love is an empty room." When they left, she sat alone by the fire. Chisum was inside, pretending to sleep, but he heard every word. His heart pounded with confusion.
The next day, Obina visited Adaeze's hut. He brought a small envelope filled with money and placed it on the table. "Adaeze," he said, "thank you for raising my son, but you cannot give him the life I can. Let him come with me. I will never take him far from you. You will still see him, but allow me to give him more." Adaeze looked at the envelope, then at him. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "Obina, when he was dying of fever, where were you? When the school rejected him for lack of birth papers, where were you? When he cried because the village mocked him, where were you? You were not here. I was. Do not think money can measure love." Obina lowered his head, ashamed. He had no answer. Chisum stepped out from the room. His voice was steady. Sir, I respect you, but Mama is my life. I will not leave her. Obina's face twisted with pain. He nodded slowly and walked away without another word. Weeks passed, but the pressure did not stop. Every time Chisom went to school, children teased him. You are foolish. Your rich father wants you, but you prefer suffering? You will regret it one day. Even some teachers pulled him aside. Chisom, think about your future. Education needs money. You will go farther with your father than with Adaeze. At night, Chisom lay awake. His heart was torn. He loved Adaeze deeply, but the words of others filled his ears. He wanted to be a teacher, but how could he reach that dream with no money? One night, he whispered to Adaeze, Mama, maybe I should go. Maybe Obina can help me become great. Adaeze's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled softly. My son, if your heart leads you there, I will not stop you. But remember this, greatness without love is emptiness. Riches without belonging is loneliness. You must choose what gives you peace. Chisom held her hand tightly. Mama, I cannot leave you, no matter what they say. A month later, Obina called for a village meeting. He stood before the elders, his voice strong. I have failed as a father, he admitted, but I want to make peace. If my son will not come with me, then I will bring something here for him and for the village. He paused, then continued. I will donate a piece of my land, build a school here. Let every child learn, rich or poor, blood or no blood. That will be my redemption. The villagers gasped again. A murmur of approval spread. What a gift! A school in Umulze. We have prayed for this. Obina is a good man after all. The elders clapped, and even those who once mocked Adaeze nodded with respect. Adaeze stood quietly in the crowd, her eyes shining. For the first time, she saw true humility in Obina's eyes. When the school was built, Chisom was among the first students to enter its doors. His joy knew no limits. He read every book he could find, filled every page of his notebooks, and spent long nights studying under the dim oil lamp. Years passed quickly. By the time he was 20, he had finished his teacher training. He returned to the same school his father built, now standing in the middle of the village, painted in bright colors. He stood before a group of children, holding chalk in his hand. His heart swelled with pride. Children, he said, smiling, I am here to teach you not only letters and numbers, but kindness and love. No matter where you come from, you belong. Family is not just blood. Family is care, sacrifice, and love. The children clapped. Some even shouted, Teacher Chisom, Teacher Chisom. Adaeze, sitting at the back of the classroom, watched with tears in her eyes. Her boy had become a man. Her sacrifice had not been in vain. Obina often visited the school. He never forced himself on Chisom, but he supported from a distance. He built a library, donated books, and even gave scholarships for poor children. One afternoon, he walked to Adaeze's hut. I cannot undo the past, but I can honor the future. Thank you, Adaeze. Thank you for raising the son I abandoned. He is my blood, but he is your heart, and that is greater. Adaeze nodded slowly.
Her voice was soft. Redemption is not in words, but in actions. Continue this path and the village will heal. Obinna bowed his head in respect. That night, as the moon hung high, Adaeze and Chisholm sat outside their hut. The small medal she kept hanging by the window caught the light, shining softly. "Mama," Chisholm said, "I will never forget your sacrifices. You gave me life when I had none. You gave me love when I had no family. You are my true mother." Adaeze smiled, her eyes wet. "And I am your true son. Love planted in hard soil has grown strong. That is our legacy." They sat together in silence, the bond between them stronger than any bloodline could ever make. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and don't forget to share.